Today we are talking with Holton Sandiford. Holton is a youth pastor, and he has also been involved in camping and retreat ministries for a long time. That's where I got to know Holton, and so yeah, I know a lot of you have gone on our men's retreat every year, and to me, I think it's the best thing that our men's ministry does. So if you have not gone on our men's retreat, as this pandemic plays out, we'll see what happens. But we're hoping that we will get to have it again this next year. And I would just encourage you to start planning for that now. It's usually in January around Martin Luther King weekend. And so um, I would encourage you to start planning for that now. And I think this conversation with Holton is a little bit about why it's important to go. Things happen in camping and retreat ministries that don't or can't happen in a regular day-to-day church life. And so yeah, I think there's just something special about it, and I hope you guys will watch, and I hope you guys will join us as long as we can safely have the retreat. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. All right. Hey guys, I am here with Holton Sandiford. Holton is a youth pastor in Fairfield, Illinois at the Fairfield Cumberland Presbyterian Church. Holton, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Before we get started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
I live in Illinois. I'm the youth minister at the Cumberland Presbyterian Church in Herschel's hometown. And I've been here now since basically September of 2015. I've been working on getting a Master of Divinity degree.
Okay.
And working my way towards ordination, which has been a long process. But I'm married. I have a wife. We just got a little kitten. We have no kids. We do youth group together and do a lot of other stuff as well. We're big into family. Both of our families are real large. I've got 6 nieces and nephews. She's got a few. She's got a handful actually as well. And so we stay busy with family stuff.
That's awesome. Apologies for any pterodactyl squawking you hear. I've got my little boy in here, so I might have to pick him up and hold him. We met at church camp a long time ago, and you've been involved in camping and retreat ministries for how long would you say?
I grew up going to church camp, and then I've been involved in retreat and camps staff-wise or leadership-wise, I would say at least since 2013. It's the last 7 years.
Yeah. What is it that like keeps you going back? Like what is it about camping and retreat ministries that you just love so much?
I think the environment of camps, the environment of retreats is really what I love the most. And it's just because everybody there is kind of there. They're there for the same purpose. Typically, you got occasional people who are just there to see their friends, which is great. And you got people who are sometimes there chasing a girl or vice versa. But typically everybody's there just to kind of grow closer to Christ and learn a little bit more about Jesus. And it's just this community that is unlike, I think, anything else you find often in the world, that you wake up, you do your day, you sleep, and it's really all centered around Jesus.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's that whole thing you said about everybody kind of being there with a common goal is so unifying, right? Like I feel like some of my camp friends are some of the best friends I've ever made in my entire life. Would you agree?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's where I met my wife. So
yeah.
That worked for me. Chasing a girl worked for me at camp. That's really why. But yeah, I definitely, I met my wife at church camp. I got connected with the church I work at through church camp. I've made several friends that I stay in contact with that come and play basketball when we can. We come and play basketball on Sunday afternoons together. A lot of different connections have been made through our church camp system.
What are some of the like lessons you feel like you've learned through either camp or retreats that you've been on, just about your faith?
Did you say lessons?
Yeah, it's like just some of the things you feel like God has shown you while you've been on these retreats.
I think I think the most important thing is just that, like, though it's different when we get back, just coming back to that whole community type thing, though it's different, because whenever I'm at a church camp with 50 people or 150 people, it's a little easier to have this Christian community. But when I get back to Fairfield, where there's 5,000 people, it's going to be a little different because we're all not living and waking up and breathing the same way. But the lesson that I keep learning every time I go back is just that I can keep still doing those things. I can still continue to wake up and do these things. Is the overall lesson I think I get from it most of the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember when I was still going to camp regularly.
Mm-hmm.
That re-entry back into the world was always the hardest part, wasn't it? Like you're so fired up when you're there, and you're isolated from the world. Basically, you've got most of these places where we go for camps or retreats have poor to no cell phone reception. You're not on your smartphone all the time, and so you're just immersed with not just the people around you, but like you said, you're going to worship every day, sometimes multiple times a day. You're hearing preaching and whatnot multiple times a day, and you're getting just soaked in Jesus, in the Holy Spirit while you're there. And so to leave that, kind of have like a down, like you're coming down from a high or something. Like, can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what kind of struggles you've had when you've kind of re-entered the world?
Yeah. I mean, there's almost like a day of depression or something when you come back from church camp. Because you go from, and it's the spiritual aspect, but it's also the connectional, just of you went from being at a place with 100 other people, and whenever I think my roughest time was my first couple summers back in Fairfield when I was a summer intern here. My first summer, I had an apartment, and so I went from having at our junior high camp, we probably had around 150 staff, 150 kids all together. There is what we had. And I went from that to being home in my apartment all alone. And it just kind of was like, I missed people. And sometimes I'm an introvert, and so I don't miss people too often, but in those times I miss people really bad.
Oh yeah.
And so that's definitely an aspect of just longing to be with people.
Great. Say hi to Holton. Can you be quiet for
Hey,
just a
buddy.
second? Yeah, this is the realities of working from home in a global pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's say you've got a retreat coming up.
Yeah.
You meet a guy and you invite him to go, and he's hesitant. Like, why should I go to this retreat? What is in it for me? So, give me your pitch. Why does he need to go to this retreat that you're holding?
Oh man. Why go? There's a couple different ways to go about pitching somebody to a retreat or camp, and I think you've got to discuss the option to grow closer to Christ, and say, this is going to take your faith to perhaps another level. I wouldn't guarantee it's taking them to another level, because there are some people who are homebodies and like to be home, and going away for a weekend and possibly, like you said, not having service and things like that kind of freaks them out. But it's definitely an opportunity to take that step closer to Christ. And so I definitely would hit on that of, this is a way for you to connect with God like you're not able to here. You're not able to connect with God as easily here because we have the distractions like you listed of our smartphones. We have the distractions of video games. And we have all these distractions, but when we go away and when we can step out of our familiar areas, we can get to a new spot where we're not distracted. And then another way, to invite somebody who's new to church to it, going to a church camp for a weekend and getting all this spiritual talk into them might kind of freak them out. And I experienced that with youth kids who are showing up, and we start talking about camps and stuff. And we just talk about, like, it's an awesome opportunity though for you just to hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing wrong with getting people there to hang out with their friends, because when they get there, we're all aligned for that common purpose, and they start all of a sudden seeing, like, oh, this is different than just normal stuff. And so I pitch it in those two ways usually: growing closer to Christ, but also growing closer to your friends, which are interwoven in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think we have an annual men's retreat that we do, and one of the things I always try to tell guys is if you're on the fence about church, about getting committed to church, give me a weekend. Give me a weekend to come to this retreat. You will meet some guys who are sold out for Christ and who are in it for the long haul. And I think you will make some amazing connections, amazing friends, and it will change what church can be for you. I think that's what church. I think that's what retreats and camps do. Is it changes the whole perspective of what church can be.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people you see a different form of Christianity at church and retreat or camps and retreats, I think. And it's not because in the real world we're outside of camps and retreats, we turn off the, or we decide, let's make this different. But it's easier. And so we find that Christianity it looks different. And so even people who are kind of weary about it, like we got to explain to them that it's not the same thing as if we were just to show up to church 5 days in a row. It's completely different than that.
That's it. Well, I appreciate your time here today. Before we go, I've got a couple lightning round questions if you're down. Now, these are questions of minimum to no importance. They might be dumb. They might be pointless, but you know what? I don't care. This is my job now, and so I want to have some fun while we're doing it. So, are you down? You want to do some lightning round questions? All right. Question number one. What TV show are you and Taylor binging right now?
The Fosters. Just started The Fosters the other day.
Okay. Growing up, what was your favorite year of school and why?
My favorite year of school would have to be probably like 8th grade, because I've been 6'4" since 8th grade, and so I was an absolute beast on the basketball court. Whether it was during games or recess, I destroyed kids. So I was this big, but I was tall.
All right, this next one. This is probably the most important question you'll ever be asked in your life. You have to do one of these two things. You have to either fight a bear or you have to fight a tiger. Which one of those are you going to choose?
Coming off of my Tiger King high, I am going for the tiger.
I mean, you saw what happened to Saf. They got their arm ripped off.
Don't put it in the wrong spot, and don't put sardine oil on you before you go in.
All right. I know you've been to a lot of different places around the world. You and your wife travel quite a bit for missionary work. What's your favorite place that you've ever visited?
That's a tough one. I think I'd have to go with the children's homes we go to in Myanmar. Probably Zion Children's Home. We just have a special connection with that place, and our hearts long for it when we're not there, and we're so happy when we're there. It really is almost our home away from home.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm so thankful that we were able to connect today. Thank you for being a part of this. I know our guys will really enjoy it, and I hope get a lot out of it. And hopefully they will all sign up and come to our retreat next year if we're able to have it and we're not still in lockdown mode. So thank you so much, Holton. I appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem.